The stars looked quiet. From a distance, the galaxy was silent, peaceful and calm. But peace never lasted long. Behind that calm, war was waiting to begin. Far from Earth, in the deep black of space, the alien fleet gathered. Hundreds of massive ships floated like steel mountains. Each one was covered in heavy layers of armor. Each one carried weapons strong enough to destroy a planet's surface. The alien commanders believed their fleet was unstoppable. To them, this was not just another war. This was a show of power, a lesson for the humans. The aliens had fought many enemies across the stars. They had crushed civilizations, burned planets, and silenced entire species. Their armor had always held. Their fleets had always won. And now they had come to Earth, ready to break humanity and add one more name to their long list of conquered worlds. But this time, things would not be so easy. The alien commander stood inside his warship, staring at the glowing blue planet in the distance. Earth. To him, it was small, fragile, and weak. He thought humans had no chance. His soldiers laughed in the control room. They spoke of victory as if it was already written. "Humans have no ship strong enough to fight us," one officer said. "Our armor cannot be broken," another replied. "They will surrender quickly." They always do. Their voices were full of pride, full of arrogance. They could not imagine a future where they did not win. But while the aliens laughed, on the other side of space, humanity was silent. In hidden stations and secret shipyards, human engineers worked day and night. They knew the aliens would come. They knew ordinary weapons would not stop them. Lasers, missiles, energy beams, all of them had failed against alien armor in the past. Humanity needed something new, something the galaxy had never seen before, and so they built it. It was not beautiful. It did not shine with glowing colors like alien weapons. It was simple, brutal, and deadly. A weapon that used pure physics, pure force, and pure human determination. The railgun. Instead of firing beams of light, the railgun hurled solid metal slugs at impossible speeds. The projectiles had no energy signature, no bright flash, no warning. They were just hunks of metal, but they moved so fast and with such power that no armor could stand in their way. This was humanity's answer. This was the weapon that would decide the future of Earth. The human fleet waited in the shadows of the solar system. Their ships were smaller than the alien giants. Their armor was thinner. Their engines were weaker. On the surface, they looked fragile, almost weak compared to the enemy. But inside those ships, hidden within their cores, the railguns waited. Silent. Deadly. The human commanders did not boast. They did not laugh. They simply prepared. They remembered every planet the aliens had destroyed. They remembered every species enslaved. They remembered that humanity was next, and they swore that Earth would not fall. As the alien fleet drew closer to the planet, the tension grew. Billions of humans watched from the ground. Soldiers, scientists, children, families, they all knew the battle would decide their future. In space, the alien ships formed into a massive wall of steel. The largest battleships moved to the front, their armor gleaming in the light of the distant sun. Their weapons powered up, glowing with deadly energy. From inside their command ship, the alien officers smiled. They had seen this before. Civilizations panicking, preparing, and then falling in fire. To them, this was routine. They believed humanity would break the same way, but they had no idea what was waiting. The human flagship floated in silence. Inside, the captain stood at the command table. He looked calm, but his eyes were sharp. Around him, officers reported the enemy's movements. "The alien fleet is in position," one said. "They are powering their weapons," another reported. The captain nodded. His voice was steady but filled with weight. "Hold fire. Let them come closer." The crew obeyed. Their hands hovered over controls, ready but waiting. Outside, the alien fleet advanced. Their ships filled the darkness like a storm. They believed they were unstoppable. They believed their armor was stronger than anything humanity could create, and that belief would be their downfall. The moment grew heavy. The silence stretched long like the pause before a lightning strike. Both fleets faced each other across the void. Billions of lives waited for the first shot to be fired. The aliens thought they were the hunters. They thought they had already won, but in truth they were walking into a trap. The humans had one chance, one moment to show the galaxy what they were made of. The railguns were ready. The slugs of metal were loaded. The power coils hummed with energy, and as the alien commander gave the order to fire on Earth, humanity prepared to answer with a weapon the galaxy had never seen before. The calm was about to break. The silence of space was about to explode. This was the beginning of the battle that would change everything. The alien commander leaned back in his chair as his fleet moved forward. To him, this was not a battle. It was a performance, a show of power. From the command deck, he could see the endless rows of warships stretching across the stars. Hundreds of ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their armor plates glowed faintly as defensive shields powered up. Their cannons hummed with energy, ready to unleash destruction. "Look at them," the commander said, his voice calm but filled with arrogance. "Small ships, thin armor, weak engines. They will fall in minutes." His officers nodded in agreement. Some laughed. Others shared quiet whispers of victory. None of them doubted the outcome. For the aliens, this war was already over. They had seen this story before. In past wars, entire civilizations had risen against them. Proud warriors had stood with shining fleets claiming they could resist. But all of them had fallen. The aliens always won. Their armor always held. Their weapons always burned through enemy defenses. And now, as they stared at the small human fleet, they believed the same ending would come again. "Humans are clever, but cleverness will not save them," one officer said. "They cannot break our armor," another added. "They will beg for mercy once the first salvo lands," a third whispered. Their words were filled with confidence. But behind that confidence hid something else: blindness. What the aliens did not understand was simple. Humanity did not fight like others. Other species had surrendered when their weapons failed. Other species had fled when their fleets burned. But humans were different. When humans were pushed, they pushed back harder. When they were cornered, they refused to bow. But the aliens could not see it. Pride had blinded them. The alien fleet advanced with perfect formation. Their ships moved like a wall of steel, each one locking into position. Defensive screens overlapped, creating layers of protection. No energy beam, no missile barrage, no conventional weapon had ever broken their wall. Their fleet was a shield, and they believed it was unbreakable. In their minds, the humans were nothing more than another target, another name to add to their history of conquest. "Soon their planet will be ash," the commander said softly, "and the galaxy will know we remain the strongest." His words echoed across the command deck. His crew cheered. Their voices carried no fear, no doubt. They trusted their armor. They trusted their size. They trusted their history of victories. Meanwhile, the humans remained silent. The alien commander noticed this silence. He frowned slightly. He expected panic or at least desperate messages begging for peace, but humanity gave nothing. "Strange," he muttered. "Why do they not beg? Do they not know their fate?" But he shrugged the thought away. To him, silence was weakness. He told himself it was the calm of a beaten enemy. He could not imagine that silence was part of the trap. On Earth, billions of humans watched the sky. News channels, military reports, and whispered rumors spread across cities. People knew the aliens were close. They knew the fleet above was strong. Fear filled the air, but mixed with that fear was something else. Anger. These aliens had destroyed worlds before. They had enslaved entire species. They had treated the galaxy like it belonged only to them, and now they dared to come for Earth. Humans remembered the warning. They remembered the threats, and they swore that Earth would not kneel. Back in space, the alien fleet continued forward. Their cannons glowed brighter as energy charged within. The time was near. On the command deck, one officer raised his voice. "Commander, the humans are still holding position. Their ships do not move." The commander smiled coldly. "Of course they do not move. They know they are beaten already. Should we demand surrender?" Another asked. The commander shook his head. "No, we strike first. We will crush their fleet and their people will see that resistance is hopeless. Then they will beg." The crew cheered again. Their voices were strong, confident, arrogant. But behind their cheers, the human fleet waited. On the human flagship, the captain watched the alien wall of ships with calm eyes. He knew what was coming. He knew the aliens would strike first, and he knew the first strike would not matter. Around him, his officers worked in silence. Their hands hovered over controls. Their voices were steady. The enemy is powering their weapons, one reported. They are preparing to fire, another said. The captain gave a single nod. Let them, no fear, no panic. Just patience, because humanity had something the aliens could not understand. Something beyond armor and shields. They had the railguns. The alien commander stood tall as the countdown began. His fleet's weapons glowed like suns ready to burn. Targets locked, an officer said. All ships ready, another confirmed. The commander raised his hand. His voice boomed across the deck. Fire. And in that moment, hundreds of alien warships unleashed their fury. Beams of energy streaked across the void, tearing through the darkness, racing toward the human fleet. The commander smiled. He believed the battle was already won, but in a few moments his smile would vanish, because what he did not know was that humanity's silence was not weakness. It was the sound of a predator waiting for the right moment to strike, and that moment was coming soon. The alien beams streaked across space like rivers of fire. They glowed bright against the dark void, crossing millions of kilometers in seconds. The first blasts slammed into the human fleet. Explosions lit up the black sky. Armor cracked. Shields flared. Smaller ships shook under the storm. The alien commander leaned forward in his chair, eyes shining with triumph. There it is, he said. The beginning of their end. His crew cheered. On every alien ship, soldiers shouted victory songs. They believed the battle was already finished. But far away in the control rooms of Earth's fleet, the humans were calm. Alarms rang, red lights flashed, but no one panicked. Every officer, every soldier, every engineer knew what was coming next, because they had prepared for this very moment. Years before the battle, when the first reports of alien power reached Earth, humanity realized the truth. Conventional weapons were useless. Lasers would be absorbed by their shields. Missiles would detonate harmlessly against their armor. The galaxy thought the aliens were untouchable, but humans had always survived by thinking differently, by making tools that no one else had imagined. So in secret bases buried under mountains and hidden shipyards orbiting moons, engineers built something new. A weapon that did not depend on glowing energy or fragile explosives. A weapon that used nothing but raw speed and force. The railgun. The first prototypes were monstrous machines, longer than skyscrapers, heavier than tanks. They fired small rods of metal, nothing special at first glance. But those rods were hurled forward by magnetic coils so powerful that the projectiles reached speeds close to light. A single slug of metal, no bigger than a human's arm, carried more force than a nuclear bomb when it hit its target. No shield could stop it. No armor could resist it. For decades, the galaxy had trusted glowing weapons of light and energy. But humans had turned back to something older, something more brutal, something unstoppable. Kinetic force. And now, as the alien fleet rained fire on Earth, the railgun sat waiting in the shadows. On the human flagship, the captain stood tall. His crew reported the damage. Smaller ships had been hit, but the formation held strong. The alien weapons, while powerful, had not broken through. Shields holding, one officer said. Minimal damage, another reported. The captain's lips curved into a thin smile. Good, he said. It's time. In the lower decks of the human ships, massive machines roared to life. The railguns activated. Power surged through coils as magnetic fields spun into existence. Engineers watched as energy levels climbed higher and higher, the hum of raw force vibrating through the hull. Slugs of metal were loaded into the rails. They were simple, solid titanium, hardened, sharpened at the tip. No glowing lights, no fancy technology, just pure, unforgiving mass. But in the silence of space, those slugs would move faster than any eye could follow. One engineer whispered as he checked the final systems. This is for Earth. Back in the alien command ship, the commander frowned. Something was wrong. His weapons had struck, but the human fleet had not broken. He expected panic, retreat, surrender, but the humans stayed in formation, silent as stone. What are they doing? He muttered. Why don't they scatter? His officers looked uncertain. Their shields are holding better than expected, Commander, one admitted. They are waiting, another said softly. The commander slammed his fist against the armrest. Fools, they cannot defeat us. They are only delaying the inevitable. But deep in his chest, for the first time, a tiny seed of doubt formed. On the human flagship, the captain gave his order. All ships, prepare to fire railguns. A deep silence filled the command deck. Every officer froze for a heartbeat, then moved into action. Their hands danced over controls. Their voices echoed through the halls. Targets locked. Railguns charged. Magnetic field stable. The captain stood still, his eyes on the enemy wall of steel. He could almost feel the arrogance radiating from those ships. He knew the aliens believed they were unbreakable, and he also knew what was about to happen. Fire. The first railgun shot burst forward. There was no glowing beam, no flashing light. Just a slug of metal, invisible to the naked eye, screaming through the void at impossible speed. It crossed the battlefield in less than a second. It struck an alien battleship square in the front. The soundless impact ripped through the armor like paper. The slug did not stop. It punched through the entire ship, exiting from the back, leaving a smoking, gaping hole. For a moment, the alien battleship floated silently. Then with a flash of fire, it broke apart. The first alien warship, one of their strongest, was gone. The alien commander leapt from his chair. His crew stared in shock, their voices breaking into panic. What was that? One shouted. No energy signature detected. Another cried. The armor. It failed. The commander's eyes widened. For the first time in his career, he saw something he had never seen before. Fear in his soldiers' faces. Impossible, he whispered. Our armor cannot be broken. But the truth was floating before him, burning wreckage, shattered steel, broken pride. Humanity had revealed its secret, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence after the first alien warship exploded was heavy. For a brief moment, the galaxy itself seemed to pause. The burning wreckage of the massive vessel drifted through space, breaking apart into glowing fragments. The humans watched calmly. The aliens stared in disbelief. It had only taken one shot. One slug of metal, and the strongest armor in the galaxy had been torn apart like paper. On the human flagship, the captain stood tall. His crew's eyes followed him, waiting. He raised his hand slowly. Fire again. This time, the entire fleet responded. From dozens of human warships, railguns roared to life. Slugs of metal burst forward, each one moving faster than sound, faster than thought. They tore across the battlefield in an instant. Alien shields flared as they tried to absorb the impacts. For a heartbeat, it seemed they might hold. But the slugs were too fast, too heavy, too brutal. The first wave of projectiles slammed through the alien line. One battleship split in two. Another erupted in a chain of explosions as its core was ripped apart. A third tried to turn away, but the slug punched through its engines, leaving it adrift and burning. In seconds, 3 of the invincible warships were gone. The alien commander could not believe what he was seeing. His crew shouted over one another, voices cracking with panic. Our armor is failing. Shields are useless. We cannot stop them. The commander's hands shook as he gripped the edge of his chair. His mind searched for an explanation. No weapon had ever done this before. No enemy had ever pierced their walls. What are those weapons? He demanded, but no one had an answer. Across the human fleet, officers reported success. Their voices were steady, but beneath their calm tone there was fire, anger, pride, vengeance, targets destroyed, alien formation breaking, reloading railguns. The engineers below decks worked like lightning. Slugs of metal were reloaded into the rails. Power surged back into the coils. Every system glowed with energy. For years they had prepared for this. And now in the silence of space they were proving that preparation right. The alien fleet tried to respond. Their cannons fired again. Lances of burning light cutting through the void. Beams struck human shields, tearing at smaller vessels. A frigate exploded, scattering debris. Another was hit hard. Its hull cracked and broken. But the humans did not retreat. For every ship they lost, the railguns destroyed 3 more alien giants. The balance shifted quickly. The aliens had come expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves bleeding. The alien commander barked orders. Titan formation. Strengthen the wall. Focus fire on their largest ships. The command ship trembled as another railgun slug tore through its defenses. The alien commander held onto the railing, his face pale. Sparks rained from the ceiling, consoles flickered, and the voices of his crew were filled with panic. Shields down to 30%. Armor plating is cracking. We cannot hold this, Commander. The alien commander's pride, once larger than any star, was shrinking fast. He had promised his people an easy victory. He had believed no one could break their armor. Now ship after ship was exploding before his eyes. He wanted to believe it was a nightmare, but the burning wrecks floating in space told him it was real. Across the battlefield, the human fleet pressed forward. On the flagship, the captain stood steady. His eyes locked onto the alien wall of steel, now shattered and bleeding. He gave calm orders, each one like the toll of a war drum. Reload railguns. Target their battleships. Keep firing. The humans did not celebrate yet. They did not shout or cheer. They focused only on the fight. They knew the battle was not over. But deep inside, they also knew the truth. Humanity was winning. Another railgun fired. The slug punched through an alien cruiser, shattering its core. The explosion lit the darkness like a new star. Another shot. Another alien ship broke apart. Again and again, the railguns roared. Each impact was final. Each shot carried the weight of Earth's survival. The alien fleet tried to respond. Cannons blazed, beams of fire lashing out. A human destroyer was hit, ripped in half. Another frigate exploded in flames. The losses were heavy, but the humans did not stop. For every ship they lost, 5 alien giants were destroyed. The tide was unstoppable. In cities across Earth, people watched the live transmissions. They saw alien warships breaking apart one after another. The fear that had filled their hearts began to fade. In its place came something stronger: hope. Crowds cheered in the streets. Families cried tears of relief. Soldiers saluted as the alien fleet fell apart. For the first time in history, humanity was not the victim. Humanity was the victor. On the alien command ship, the commander's voice broke with anger. "Hold your positions. Fire everything. Do not retreat." But his words rang hollow. His crew no longer believed. Their hands shook over controls, their eyes wide with fear. "Commander, we cannot win." One officer shouted. "Our armor is useless against them." Another cried, "We must fall back before it's too late." The commander slammed his fist against the console. "No, we do not retreat. We are the strongest fleet in the galaxy. We cannot be defeated by humans." But even as he shouted, another railgun slug tore through a nearby battleship, ripping it into pieces. The fireball lit his command deck, and for the first time he felt something he had never known before: helplessness. The human fleet kept advancing. They moved like predators, slow and steady, railguns firing with deadly rhythm. One officer on the flagship reported, "Alien formation collapsing. Their ships are scattering." The captain nodded. His voice was calm, but his words were sharp. "Do not let them escape. Finish this." The humans unleashed another storm of fire. Dozens of slugs cut through the battlefield. Alien ships burst apart one after another, their wreckage drifting into the void. The once mighty wall of steel was gone. Now the alien fleet was only fragments, burning and broken. On the alien command ship, chaos ruled. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the air. The crew shouted over one another, fear drowning out discipline. "Engines failing. Core breach detected. We cannot stay here." The commander fell into his chair, his body trembling. He had thought himself invincible. He had thought his fleet was eternal. But now he watched as centuries of arrogance burned away in moments. He whispered to himself, almost like a prayer, "Impossible. Humans cannot do this. Humans are weak." But the truth stared back at him. Humans were not weak. Humans had done what no one else could. They had broken the unbreakable. The captain of the human fleet gave his final order: "All ships, focus fire on the command vessel." Dozens of railguns turned as one. Power surged through the coils. Slugs of metal locked into place. The silence before the shot was heavy, filled with history and vengeance. Then they fired. The slugs slammed into the alien command ship. One after another, they ripped through its armor, tearing holes the size of towers. Fires erupted. Explosions ripped through its decks. The alien commander looked up one last time, his golden eyes wide with disbelief. He had led fleets across the galaxy. He had broken civilizations, but here, above Earth, his pride was destroyed along with his fleet. The final explosion consumed him. The command ship split apart, breaking into fire and debris. The heart of the alien fleet was gone. Across the battlefield, the remaining alien ships scattered in terror. Some tried to flee, engines burning. Others powered down their weapons, surrendering silently. But it was too late. Humanity had already won. The fall of the invincible fleet was complete. On Earth, the cheers grew louder. Bells rang in cities, fireworks burst in the night sky. Billions of voices shouted the same truth. Humanity had stood, humanity had fought, and humanity had triumphed. The galaxy would never forget this day, and the aliens would never forget their shame. His officers scrambled. Warships shifted, closing ranks. Defensive shields overlapped again. Their massive cannons turned and unleashed another barrage. But even as their weapons fired, another human railgun slug struck. This one tore through 2 ships at once. The slug entered one battleship's front armor, passed clean through, and slammed directly into another vessel behind it. Both ships exploded in a chain of fire. The alien crew fell silent. Their commander's eyes went wide. This cannot be happening, he whispered. But it was. On Earth, billions watched live feeds of the battle. News screens showed alien giants burning in orbit. Families held hands. Soldiers clenched their fists. Children stared with wide eyes. For the first time, they believed. The aliens were not invincible. Humanity was not weak. The railguns were proving the truth. Even the strongest walls could be broken. Cheers rose across cities. Fear turned into hope. Back in the human fleet, the captain kept his voice steady. Maintain fire. Do not let them recover. His officers obeyed. Slug after slug launched into the void. Every shot was deadly. Every shot tore through alien armor. The aliens tried evasive maneuvers, but their massive ships were too slow. They tried to retreat behind one another, but the slugs passed through multiple ships at once. The humans pressed forward step by step, slug by slug, tearing holes in the wall of steel. The alien commander's arrogance was gone. Sweat ran down his face as he shouted, "Retreat! Pull back! We must regroup!" But retreat was chaos. The formation shattered as ships tried to scatter. Some collided in their panic. Others turned too slowly, only to be pierced and destroyed. The commander's pride burned with every loss. He had promised victory. He had laughed at humanity. And now his mighty fleet was breaking apart. He slammed his fist down. How? How did they build this? No one answered. The humans didn't stop. On the flagship, the captain gave another order. Target the command ship. The crew locked on. Multiple railguns aligned, their power humming. Slugs of metal slid into place. The alien commander felt a chill run through his bones. For the first time in his life, he realized his armor could not save him. Shields to maximum, he shouted. Protect the command ship. But deep inside, he knew it was too late. The first strike had already proven the truth. Humanity had the weapon to shatter their walls. The aliens had believed they were the hunters. But now they were the prey, and humanity was just getting started. The battlefield was silent at last. Debris drifted slowly across the stars. The remains of once mighty alien warships floated like broken statues, glowing with the last fires of battle. Here and there, tiny flashes still burned where fuel cells ruptured or reactors collapsed. But the fight was over. The humans had won. On the bridge of the flagship, the crew sat in quiet awe. They had been trained for war, but even they could not fully believe what had happened. A fleet that the galaxy had called unbreakable now lay in ruins before them. The captain stood at the center, his hands behind his back, his face calm. Yet inside, he carried the weight of history. He knew this victory was more than survival. It was a statement to the stars. Report, the captain said. Enemy command ship destroyed, an officer answered. Remaining vessels are scattered. Some have powered down, others are fleeing. And our status? Severe losses. But our fleet still stands. The captain nodded slowly. His eyes scanned the battlefield through the wide viewport. In every direction, fragments of alien metal spun in silence. Humanity's railguns had written their message across the void. On the alien side, what remained of the fleet trembled. Damaged cruisers limped away, sparks trailing behind them. Fighters abandoned their posts, fleeing into deep space. The survivors carried no pride now, only fear. In one battered vessel, a young alien officer whispered to his crew, "They destroyed us. They destroyed everything. Our armor, our strength, all shattered." No one answered, because no one could. The truth was carved into the wreckage around them. Humanity had done the impossible. Back on Earth, billions of people stared at screens. In homes, in shelters, in command bunkers, they all watched as the live transmission continued. The image of the broken alien fleet filled the skies. At first there was silence. Then cheers erupted. Children laughed and cried. Families hugged tightly. Strangers embraced in the streets. The fear that had haunted Earth for so long was gone, replaced with something far stronger. Pride. They had stood against giants. And they had won. But victory was not enough. The captain knew the galaxy was watching. Other empires. Other species. Many of them had believed humanity would fall in days. Some had even supported the invaders. Now they would see something else. He turned to his communications officer. "Send the message," he said. "To who, sir?" "To everyone. All channels. Every frequency. Let the galaxy hear us," the officer nodded, his hands moving quickly over controls. A green light flickered. The captain's voice was now being carried across the stars. He spoke clearly, his words simple, his tone steady. "This is Earth. This is humanity." He paused, letting the silence stretch. On countless worlds, ears leaned closer. "You came here with your fleets. You came here with your weapons. You told us to kneel. You told us we were weak. You told us we had no chance." The crew listened as his voice grew sharper. "You built ships of steel. You covered them in armor. You thought nothing could pierce them. But you were wrong. Humanity's will is stronger than steel. Our weapons are sharper than your pride." In alien command rooms, officers clenched their jaws. In dark halls of other empires, rulers leaned forward uneasy. The humans were not broken. The humans were not slaves. The captain's voice thundered on. "We will not kneel. We will not bow. If you come for us again, we will fight again. And we will win again." On Earth, the speech played everywhere. People cried and shouted as the words echoed through cities. On alien worlds, some trembled with anger, others with fear. A few even whispered respect. The galaxy had expected to see humanity's defeat. Instead, they were witnessing humanity's rise. The captain ended with final words, calm but powerful. "Remember this battle. Remember your fallen fleet. Humanity stands free. Humanity stands strong. And we will never break." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. But outside, the message raced across the stars like a storm. In the ruins of the alien fleet, a few commanders still clung to their pride. They swore vengeance, swore they would return. But deep inside they knew the truth. Humanity had exposed their weakness. Humanity had destroyed their myth of invincibility. The day would be remembered forever. The day Earth stood against the greatest armor in the galaxy and shattered it. On Earth's surface, celebrations filled every street. Fireworks lit the skies. Bells rang in every city. Humanity had not just survived. They had announced their place in the galaxy. Old fears were gone. A new fire had been born. In the captain's quarters, he finally allowed himself a deep breath. He looked at the stars, knowing more challenges would come. But he also knew something else. No matter what came, humanity would face it, because now the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity fights back, and humanity wins.